Welcome back to the season finale of Oceans in Action. I'm your host, Scarlett. Over the past 4 episodes, we've journeyed through the cultural heart of Chiloé Island, Chile. We've admired the Palafitos, those iconic stilt houses, and the UNESCO World Heritage wooden churches. But today we're looking at the water itself, specifically the silver rush that redefines archipelago.
It's really a rush, Scarlett. In the span of just a few decades, Chile transitioned from having zero presence in the global salmon market to being the world's second largest producer. Chile is the epicenter of the Blue Revolution.
And for our AP Environmental Science listeners, it's important to note the ecological anomaly here. Atlantic salmon are an exotic invasive species in Chile. They were introduced specifically for intensive aquaculture because the Los Lagos region offers the perfect cold, nutrient-rich fjords.
Ethan, as our industry analyst, let's talk about the economic gravity of this situation. How did a cluster of rural islands become a global export hub?
It all started in the late 1980s. The Chilean government moved towards export-led growth, and they saw the deep protected fjords of Chile as an untapped gold mine, or silver mine in this case. By the 1990s, the industry was expanded at double-digit rates. It provided thousands of jobs in processing plants, net maintenance, and logistics.
But there's a critical catch in this economic model. While it brought rapid modernization to the Los Lagos regions, the ownership structure is extremely top-heavy. Most of these farms are owned by massive multinational corporations based in Norway, Japan, or Canada.
Exactly, Sehaj. This creates what economists call a leaky bucket economy. The profit from the salmon sold in New York or Tokyo don't stay in Castro or Quelon. The wealth leaves the island, while the environmental externalities, the waste and the pollution, stay behind in the water.
And we have to talk about the social shift. Before the salmon boom, Chiloé was famous for the minga, a tradition where the whole community comes together to move a house or harvest crops for a neighbor. The shift to a corporate, shift-based economy has eroded some of that communal self-reliance. People are now vulnerable to the fluctuations of the global market. If the price of salmon drops in London, a family in Chiloé might not be able to pay their bills.
Krithik, as a marine biologist, let's get into the nitty-gritty. We keep hearing about environmental damage, but what is physically happening to the water quality in these fjords?
It's a process we discussed in class called cultural eutrophication, but happening in a marine environment. Think about an open net pen. It's a high-density feedlot in the middle of a fjord. You have tens of thousands of fish in one cage. They produce massive amounts of nitrogen-rich feces and ammonia. On top of that, uneaten fish meal, which is packed with phosphorus, falls through the mesh to the seafloor.
I've read that the oxygen levels under these pens are nearly zero in some areas. Is that the result of the waste?
Precisely. It's called hypoxia, or the creation of dead zones. When that organic waste settles, aerobic bacteria move in to decompose it. Those bacteria consume all the dissolved oxygen in the water column near the bottom. Native species like crabs, clams, and sea urchins that local artisanal fishers have relied on for centuries simply suffocate.
And what about the chemical load? I've seen reports that Chile uses significantly more antibiotics than producers in Norway.
That is one of the most pressing concerns. Because pens are so crowded, pathogens like sea lice and infectious salmon anemia spread rapidly. To protect their investment, companies use massive doses of antibiotics and pesticides. This doesn't just stay in the pen, it drifts to the surrounding ecosystem, potentially leading to antibiotic-resistant bacteria within the wild food chain. They also use copper-based anti-fouling paints on the nets to prevent algae growth, and copper can be highly toxic to other marine larvae.
Guys, this essay is due in 5 minutes, and this is all I have so far.
All you wrote is this book is good?
That's not AP level.
Wait, don't turn that garbage in.
Introducing the Homework Translator 3000.
Watch this. I type, "This book is good."
Wow, this is so much better than what you had before. The novel presents a compelling exploration of thematic complexity through nuanced characterization.
You didn't even read the book.
That's the beauty of innovation.
It upgrades your vocabulary instantly. Sad turns into existentially burdened. Happy becomes emotionally elevated.
Homework Translator 3000, because good is not a thesis statement. And we're back. Reese, you've been looking at the breaking point for the islanders, the 2016 social earthquake.
That was a watershed moment. A massive harmful algal bloom, or red tide, devastated the coast. It killed millions of wild fish and made shellfish toxic to humans. The government blamed climate change and El Nino, but the locals didn't buy it.
Science actually supports the locals there. While the warm water from El Nino provided the spark, the massive nutrient loading from salmon farms, all that nitrogen and phosphorus I mentioned, acted as a liquid fertilizer. It made the bloom significantly more toxic and caused it to last much longer than it would have naturally.
This leads us to our sustainability analysis. The 2016 crisis showed that the current open net system is a linear economy model being forced into a circular ecosystem. It uses the ocean as a free waste disposal site.
So Sehaj, what are the solutions? How can we fulfill our goal of promoting a sustainable island?
We have to look at recirculating aquaculture systems. These are land-based closed containment tanks. They're much more expensive to build, but they allow for 99% water filtration. No waste enters the fjords, no fish escape into the wild, and you don't need antibiotics because you can control the environment perfectly.
Another great option is integrated multi-trophic aquaculture. It's like a polyculture for the ocean. You grow salmon, but you also plant seaweed and mussels around the pens. The seaweed and the mussels eat the excess nitrogen and phosphorus, cleaning the water while providing a second and third crop for the farmers.
And finally, we need better community-based management. The people of Chiloé deserve a right to refuse. They should have the power to say no to a farm location if it threatens a sensitive breeding ground for native species.
It's clear that Chiloé is a microcosm of the global structure between short-term profit and long-term ecological health. The silver scales brought wealth, but it came at a price that the environment and the people are still paying.
If the ecosystem collapses, the industry collapses anyway. This is a classic example of the tragedy of the commons. If everyone takes too much and dumps it too much, eventually there's nothing left for anyone.
The ocean isn't just a resource, it's a life support system, and we need to start treating it like one.
Well said, Krithik. That wraps up our 5-part series, Oceans in Action. We hope this journey to Chiloé has shown you the unique strengths and the very real struggles of island life. To Mrs. Nelson and our listeners, stay curious, stay sustainable, and keep protecting our blue planet. I'm Scarlett.
And this has
And
been
this has
Oceans
been
in
And
Action.
this has been Oceans in Action.